Psychoanalysis is often the most controversial, most abused, and least appreciated form of literary criticism. It is closely associated with Sigmund Freud and emphasizes the unconscious aspects of the human psyche. It asks, in the character's subconscious is responsible for their actions, and tries to apply Freudian concepts to individual characters. A psychoanalytic approach to literature is often helpful in understanding the human nature of characters who possess psychological issues, as well as the symbolic meanings of works. However, psychological criticism perceives only the psychological side of literature and often disregards its artistic aspects. In addition to this, some works of literature just do not lend themselves well to this type of approach.
While reading and analyzing text, the reader must consider the three minds that the psychoanalytic critic addresses: the author, audience, and characters in the story. Additionally, it is important to keep in mind what school of psychoanalytic literary criticism you are analyzing the work with. Many psychologists have come up with methods of analysis after Freud, and each produces a different style of psychoanalytic literary criticism. While reading, the reader should look for any interesting family dynamics and what is motivating the actions and behaviors of the characters. In Shakespeare, the soliloquies are important in revealing a character's true thoughts. Some questions to keep in mind while reading through this lens are: how do motivations and behaviors of the characters relate to the author's life? Are there any Oedipal dynamics or any other family dynamics at work? How are the actions and desires of the characters influenced by their subconscious?
By analyzing Hamlet through the psychological lens, we can get a clearer picture of the subconscious motivations for his actions and the reasoning he has for his actions. One of Freud's main theories was the Oedipus complex, obviously named after Oedipus Rex. Freud's theory claims that in the unconscious minds, young children between the ages of 3 and 6 desire their mother's attention and resent their fathers because of their direct competition for affection. However, the subconscious knows that the father is stronger than they are, so they learn to identify with the fathers in the hope of someday possessing a woman like their mother. Hamlet is famous for expressing some forms of the Oedipus complex. Due to Hamlet's fixation on Gertrude's sexual appetite, critics theorize that Hamlet as a child expressed warm feelings towards his mother, and the death of his father stimulated his long-repressed need to take his father's place. This need is also triggered by Claudius's marriage to Gertrude. When Hamlet finds out that his uncle killed his father and married his mother, he subconsciously realizes that killing Claudius would be like killing himself because of his inner subconscious desires. This is why he deliberates about killing Claudius for so long. Claudius manifests all of Hamlet's inner subconscious desires, and if Claudius is killed, Hamlet must also be killed. In the end, Hamlet does avenge his father's death while dying in the process. Analyzing Hamlet's behavior through the psychological lens reveals the reason why he waited so long in killing his uncle, which ended up being his tragic flaw.
While it is unsure if Hamlet is actually mad, Ophelia's descent into madness is very well established. Growing up without a mother, Ophelia has been surrounded her entire life by domineering men that constantly tell her what to do and manipulate her. In her confrontation with Hamlet, he toys with her by saying he once loved her, then saying he has never loved her. This also ties back in with Hamlet's Oedipus complex. He's projecting his mother into Ophelia, which causes him to lash out at her for her perceived betrayal. Her whole life has been composed of men telling her what to do, so her father's death, her brother's absence, and Hamlet's harsh words leave a void that cannot be filled with Ophelia's own personality. She descends into madness and eventually kills herself.
Wow! I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good.
let the dogs out. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Rosencrantz. No, wait. Guildenstern. Huh. Let me get back to you.
Through Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality, he suggests that there are three parts of the mind: the id, ego, and superego. The id part of the personality is concerned with basic needs and urges. Ego is the rational and logical part, while superego is related to social rules and morals. This theory is known as Freud's structural theory of personality, which Hamlet displays in his to be or not to be soliloquy. His contemplation of life and suicide demonstrates his dilemma between id and superego. So in the end, Hamlet's ego becomes the most influential force on himself. Freud's theory states that the id, ego, and superego are constantly conflicted with each other. Hamlet has a weak ego. He is indecisive and is quick to doubt himself. Hamlet displays this theory through his contemplating suicide, an abrupt shift in behavior towards Ophelia. His calm behavior is the rational, sensible part of his personality, whereas his rash anger is the irrational, extreme part of his personality.
The scene in which Hamlet and Gertrude confront each other is a turning point in the play. Previous to this scene, Hamlet and Gertrude have had few revealing scenes together. The long overdue conversation between the two of them reveal important things about Hamlet's character. Initially, this scene reveals Hamlet's Oedipus complex. Both characters are alone together in a room, which implies a certain amount of sensuality between the two characters. However, Hamlet is angry at Gertrude because he thinks she has betrayed him and he wants to take revenge. The ghost prevents him from harming her, so he chooses to harm her with his words and speak daggers to her. The most important part of this scene, however, is that Hamlet has killed for the first time. It is clear that he thinks that it is Claudius behind the curtain and not Polonius. This signifies that he has overcome his inability to act. Subconsciously, he has decided to sacrifice himself in order to avenge his father's murder. The play finally ends when Hamlet is able to sacrifice himself to avenge his father's murder and kill Claudius. Along with Claudius, Hamlet and many other characters also die, and Hamlet names Fortinbras the King of Denmark. As Hamlet witnesses the marriage of his mother and uncle, ponders existence and death, and seeks to avenge his father's murder, a psychoanalytical look at the play reveals that there can be underlying subconscious motivation and reason for all behavior and action.